Good evening and welcome to Electronic Game Information and our special quarantined lockdown version of the show. I hope that you are staying safe. I hope that you are continuing to wash your hands and to do the physical distancing. We don't like to call it social distancing here on EGI. This is a social event as much as it is a event about an educational event, a entertainment event. And so we are so glad that you've decided to join us here tonight. Tonight we have our, we're going to start off with our news headlines. Our news headlines are starting right now. We're going to start off with a special story about the Suffering, the Ties That Bind, the sequel to the classic The Suffering, the classic first-person shooter horror game that was on the PlayStation 2, Xbox, and PC. The Suffering, the Ties That Bind is of course a fantastic example of how to do a sequel right. The graphics are better, the enemies are more numerous and with greater variety, and the setting is, of course, takes you outside of the prison where the Suffering Ties That Bind takes place and puts you into the city of Baltimore, where I lived for 14 years. And I can tell you that of the many things that the Suffering, the Ties That Bind do right, it does a few things wrong. There is an elevated train in Suffering Ties That Bind that does not exist in the city of Baltimore. That was our first story of the night. The second story of the night is, of course, the Draken Order of the Flame on the Sega Dreamcast. If you are looking for Draken Order of the Flame on the Sega Dreamcast, you will not be able to find it because it did not come out. It never came out, and it was planned to come out. It was a PC game of some scope and some effort and some ambition. And to port it to a Dreamcast would have been a great way to sort of expand the library of that often overlooked system, at least overlooked at the time that it was out and games were being published for it. It never came out. It did have a port for the PlayStation 2. So that was Draken Order of the Flame. And of course, if you're interested in Draken games, if you're interested in these kind of big semi-open world action RPGs of that PlayStation 2, early PlayStation 2 Dreamcast era, you might also think about looking for the other Draken game, which I believe is called Age of the Patriots, and I don't know why I think that. Baraka is in the news? Or he was... I don't, this is Baraka, of course, the Outworld foot soldier turned into Mortal Kombat champion, and he is in the news because he killed Reptile. You can't talk about the Mortal Kombat games, you can't talk about Dreamcast games, of course, without talking about Draconis, Cult of the Worm, published by Crave Entertainment. This is an action RPG, unlike any other on the Sega Dreamcast. The back of the disc is here. I'm just gonna kind of hold that up to the camera so you can read that for yourselves, and I'll just take a second. See that it is DMU compatible, jump pack compatible, and uses the standard controller. So if you're a fan of run and slash and bump and jump and have a great time with your 22 spells and dramatic effects characters, Draconis. So that was our news updates. Of course, we are here with we are joined tonight by EGI special correspondent and fan of the show, Alan Resnick. Alan, how are you doing?
Robby, I can hear you.
Alan, you froze you froze for a second there, but we're so glad that you're not frozen and you are still on the show. You are. I understand.
No, I'm not.
You have a special report for us tonight. Is that correct?
Yeah, Robby.
Great.
Robby,
so happy to have you here, Alan. Please do the special report. We're having a bit of a technical interference on my end, so we're having trouble getting the special report that Alan Resnick is about to do out into the world. And Alan, take it away. When you feel when the spirit moves you, so to speak, you should be talking about the special report.
Before I do my special report, I just want everyone who's watching EGI to know that I love and miss Robby. Special.
Okay, and we are going to try and remember what I was going to say about Robby. Okay. Hey, Alan, it's Robby and Alan Resnick here on Electronic Game Information, our quarantine version of the show. How are you doing tonight, Alan?
I don't freaked out, but I'm okay. I have my health, and I miss you, but I'm freaked out, and I don't like having to run my own technology for this. It's scary, and it's harder than I thought.
Well, Alan, you're coming through clearly. I can see your face. I can see your hands. I can see you're moving, and you're alive, and you're well, and you're healthy, Alan.
Yeah, that's right. And I love you, and I hope everyone who's watching knows. I'm gonna do my.
You remember what I was going to say about Baraka?
You had a.
I had a whole news story.
You always talk about Baraka.
I had him right in the middle of this, right in the middle of the news updates, because I wanted people, the way that you want to structure these news updates is you want to have two stories that people aren't interested in, plus then the real story in this case, which is and then you want to have two more stories which are vastly more important, and that was Draconis.
Got it. Did you want more time to do that? Or should I do my special report?
Yeah, just go ahead. Alan Resnick here with a special report here on Electronic Game Information.
Whatever makes you feel comfortable. This just in: Slam Bolt Scrapers.
Slam Bolt Scrappers. It's Slam Bolt. It's Scrappers. While we are waiting for Alan to join us with his special report on Slam Bolt Scrappers, we are going to take a deep cut in. Oh, Alan, you're back. Oh no. Well, this was cut from the show earlier on, but we are actually going to go ahead and talk about Alien Front Online for the second Dreamcast. Alien Front Online, of course, was the vastly successful online multiplayer extravaganza that the Dreamcast needed. Too little, too late. Alien Front Online. Oh, Alan, you're back. So let's hear your story on Slam Bolt Scrappers.
Slam Bolt Scrapers. How far did I get in my report?
You say the word fire hose, and then unfortunately we lost you there for a second. But luckily, I have another special report that I've been working on Alien Front Online that we can do if you fail to deliver your report.
I'll try one more time to do it, and then if I fail, we'll do yours. Slam Bolt Scrappers, an EGI special report from special correspondent me, Alan Resnick, who says video games should be fun. Well, I guess the independent developer Firehose Games didn't get the memo, and they came up with a little game called Slam Bolt Scrappers. Here it is. This is Slam Bolt Scrappers.
Beautiful game. Alan, what are we looking at there? Tell me exactly what's going on.
This
Okay,
is
so
I don't actually know.
Seeing a lot of lines, seeing a lot of cubes, a lot of people. People, are they people, Alan? Or are they machines?
I can't tell, but I'm going to get into that a little. Well, there's both. That's a machine for sure. That's Slamball Scrapper.
Who's the scrapper?
We'll get there. Let me do my report. 2011's indie darling Slamball Scrappers was the first original IP from Firehose Games after their hit training simulator, the DARPA training simulator. They used to make training simulators for DARPA.
DARPA. What does that remind me of? Defense?
The department's Advanced Research Project
Agency.
They do research.
And DARPA was the man who's killed in the jail in the opening hours of Metal Gear Solid, the original Metal Gear Solid, of course, with the PlayStation and PC, and later, if you want to say the GameCube, because of the remake known as Twin Snakes.
That's right, Robby. DARPA is a character in a game, and it's also a Defense Department's Advanced Research Projects Agency.
And he was killed by a device inside of his chest, Alan. Can you imagine that the government might actually be opening people up and putting fail-safe devices that give people heart attacks into their bodies if they get a job at DARPA?
Oh.
Really,
fact is stranger than fiction. Firehose Games knew that. Anyways, what is Slamball Scrappers, you ask? What is Slamball?
Quick question for you, Alan. Before we get into what it is and why we're talking about it, and this is going to be sort of pie in the sky, sort of just thinking about the process of opening up a body and putting in a fail-safe device that explodes when they do something that the DARPA people or maybe Liquid Snake, Revolver Ocelot. You following my train of thought here? How many people? The people over at Firehose Games, the creators of this wonderful independent puzzle, adventure, action, wild party fun, crazy scrapper game, Slamball Scrappers. Do you think that the DARPA people had the fail-safe devices placed into the employees of the people that worked on this game?
It's possible. I think we're getting mixed. I think our wires are crossing a little bit. Where I think you're talking about some sort of character in the Metal Gear games, and the simulator that the Firehose Games made was for the real life government's DARPA agency. So, what is Slamball Scrappers, you ask? Well, it's part Tetris. It's part Smash Brothers, and it's part fun. And these are the pictures I have for fun.
That's a great picture for fun. That was me in high school when I dressed up as Cloud Strife. When I was, and that was me at the second E3 I went to back in 2004, 2005. There's me with a sword, not unlike the swords that one might find in games like Draken, Draconis, Cult of the Worm, or Evergrace. Another game that we might get into later in the show. I'm not going to promise anything, Alan, because we can't really promise anything these days, can we?
No, we don't like to make promises. But did you know that you're dressed up like a character in a new game?
Yes, that was it. I was so excited because Final Fantasy VII was, of course, a game that I looked forward to when it came out, and it came out, and I was so excited, and I played it, and I had my dad and me. We got together and we sat in the backyard. And we built that crazy sword, the storm. What's the name of that sword, Alan?
I don't know, but there's a new Final Fantasy game with the same sword. Did you know that?
Just a wonderful childhood.
Anyways, Slamball Scrappers. In it, you choose between 3 different characters: Bomac, Slim.
Slim is what a wonderful name, Slim,
or
flattering, don't you think?
Or Penyen.
That sounds racist.
And then it's off to the races for Slamball Scrappers. So at the time of the release, GameSpot reviewed the game, and they said a short campaign and lack of online multiplayer hobble this ambitious puzzle adventure. Okay. Eurogamer said the constant need to multitask makes it feel like you're being persistently harangued by a hyperactive 4-year-old.
Oof.
And if that sounds like your idea of entertainment, then be my guest.
Sign me up, Alan. Slave Bolt Scrappers sounds like a hell of a time. It maybe could have... I had something.
That was my special report.
Well, that's a wonderful special report.
Back to you, Robbie.
Special report from special correspondent Alan Resnick. Alan, so happy that you're here. Such a big fan of the show. And, I love this. You love the show. You love being on the show, and we love having you on the show. And you're here every week with us, and it's. Just looking at your face is one of the few times I get to look at other people's faces, and what a face it is.
It's by far the highlight of my week to talk to you and see you. I mean, I see you most days of the week, but in photos that I've saved and just from looking up pictures of you online. But when I actually get to hear your voice in conjunction with the photo, it's like my blood pumps a little warmer and faster too. So I'm just happy to be here. I am a big fan of electronic game information. Back to you, Robbie.
Back to you, Alan. And it is important for me to understand what drew you to Slamboat Scrappers to make this special report at this time, because people are out there. They're trying to figure out what to do with the time that they have left on Earth, and especially people who are stuck in their houses maybe with their families or maybe with friends they don't like, and playing a game like Slambolt Scrappers might be just what the doctor ordered when it comes to recovering from the forced isolation that physical distancing requires.
Very interesting point. I wish I was trapped in a house with my best friend Robby instead of being in the house that I'm in.
Well, Alan,
if we can make the government ease some of the sanctions on us and maybe make that happen in the next phase of this lockdown, I could be in Robbie's house. Just a thought.
If we could both, here's what I do think, Alan, is that if you and I could both get our hands on copies of Alien Front Online, unopened Sega Dreamcast systems, and the Sega Dreamcast microphone attachments that attach to the standard controller. Standard controller, you see it says it right there. Standard controller.
Yeah, yep.
If you could get the attachment for the standard controller, you and I could go online. Maybe some of those old Alien Front Online servers are still humming along. So this just in, EGI is, of course, this is just a wonderful show. It's a crazy show. We're having so much fun right now. I mean, I don't know about you, Alan, but I'm having a blast. But I'm also extremely stressed out.
Why?
Well, call it a sort of sign of the times. Call it a sickness. Call it what you will. It is certainly a trying time for this country, for the EGI audience, and the world, really.
And so for Alan too.
And for Alan, because Alan has delivered a deep and biting report on Slambolt Scrappers.
And he doesn't get the credit he deserves.
And I feel like when you're writing a report like that, you are definitely in the moment. You're sort of having this kind of relationship with the report itself, where you are writing and you are thinking and you are angry,
right?
As because you're wondering why.
Yeah.
Why is the government putting these devices into people? Why am I forced to reconcile the facts of this deep state nonsense with what should be a wonderful party game for people stuck inside during these times?
That's what I was thinking.
Anyway, I have decided to use this platform that we now have to create a kind of a mood, you might say. So during the show for the next few weeks, we will be airing segments of what I believe to be soothing game footage made up entirely of late 90s first-person shooters. And we have our very first soothing game footage segment here tonight. Alan, would you like to see it?
I want to see it.
So let's sit back and we will relax and we will take deep breaths and we will watch this wonderful, very soothing, relaxing game footage from the game Killing Time for the Panasonic and Philips 3DO system. Prepare yourself as best you can. Lean back in your chair. and let's relax.
Upstairs door.
But Byron said it would fit. It's only 3 feet wide.
I believe he said 3 cubits wide, sir. A cubit is roughly the length of your forearm.
Then we'll open it right here.
Very well. I'll summon Miss Thomas.
Oh, that won't be necessary, Robert. I want to surprise her.
She specifically wanted to be present when the crate was opened.
Thought I made myself clear.
You're not the master of this house.
Yet.
Alan, so glad that you're back with us here on EGI, and we are about to take our next foray into the world of Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. We are in the Dalentarth district, and we are looking right now at a two-dimensional map of a 3D space. Alan, what are you thinking?
I think these segments where you play Kingdoms of Amalur
Reckoning
are just some of the best. And I just like to sit back and just watch, because it's like watching a movie. Like, remember when you used to go to movie theaters and you'd see a story in light?
Yeah,
this is like,
if I could pay full price to see Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning played on the big screen, I would do that without hesitation.
Well, this is a kind of.
Oh, Alan.
That's what it's like for me when you play Kingdoms of Amalur. Robbie?
All right, Alan, thank you for your response, and we are going to dive right into things. So let's get started with our playthrough, Chapter 2, you might say, the second chapter of Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning here on Electronic Game Information. Let's dive right in. Here we are in, we've got a quest update. This just in, we've got a quest update to meet somebody whose name starts with the letter A. I wasn't paying much attention because, Alan, I do have a quest that I have for myself, which is to show you this wonderful feature of Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, which is the fact that the bodies of the creatures that you kill, that you maim and destroy in the game, will stay in the game for an undetermined period of time. And so we are going to, if you recall, last week we were playing, and I sliced up, not me, but Katie, my avatar character, my player character Katie, who is named after my beautiful wife Katie, who I don't usually get to spend as much time with, but I do spend a lot of time with now. But I still name all of my custom created game characters Katie.
Right.
So let's go find the bears that I killed, so I can show you, Alan. I can also just, so we can all witness here on Electronic Game Information, just this wonderful video memory that is utilized to ensure that the effects that you have on the game are maintained, are kept, and are ready to be revisited again and again. So looking for the bears, we're gonna go ahead and click on these little sativa.
What's that?
Sativa.
Sativa?
Sativa is, of course, stevia. Yeah, so that was obviously they misspelled that. And here is some ember eyes. Ember eyes, of course, are orange eyes. I don't know why. If I picture an eye, I usually picture an oval or sort of a kind of a flat sphere. But here it is represented like kind of like just some grass, or perhaps it's maybe that's some I don't know what that is. So let's go. We're running around. We've just discovered Arden's hut. So let's go and not worry about Arden's hut for now, because we are going to find the bears. We're going to find these bears. Alan, remember when the bears came?
It was the most shocking thing I've ever seen, and I honestly can't believe you're going to revisit that moment.
And the thing is that this is not a bear that's coming up. This is, of course, antler animal, and it looks familiar. It looks like it could be something that I could touch or maybe talk to, but instead it's doing its own thing. It's living, and I will not. Oh. It's got what an interesting art style this game has. Just lots of curves and angles where you don't expect them. And if you look at these 5 claw marks on the side of the beast, and it is a beast, not a person.
But is it a friend or a foe? Is my question. Oh, you're. Well,
I think it might be a friend, because it did not attack me the way that the bears attacked me, and those were enemies.
And so Robby, Robby, if you came across me in the woods, I would not attack you.
Alan, if you came across me in the woods, you would probably find me doing a number of things, including playing Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning on the Nintendo Switch, if it ever was ported to the Nintendo Switch. Which I looked at a game like this, and I think, what's holding us up? Why isn't there a Switch port of this? I mean, there's ports of Darksiders, and we have Switch ports of Legend of K and.
Hey, Robby.
Yeah.
Why do you think they don't port Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning to the Switch?
Well, I can't speak for the people, the wonderful people over at Big Huge Games for their reticence to port this game to what is arguably one of the most, if not the most, popular game system on the market today. But I will say that there could be a concern, because when you have a game that's this lush, that's this full and wide and open, you definitely want to ensure that the vision that you had for the game is completely and utterly unchanged from its original state.
I think things are happening in the game.
I'm just looking for the bears, Alan, and when I find the bear, I mean, I swear to goodness, these bears a week later will still be in the exact same place that they were when we left them last week, when we were playing Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning for the first time.
It's an interesting premise, but I find it very hard to believe that the bears you killed last week will still be there. And honestly, if they are there, it's going to freak me out. So
this just in, we are approaching a new town. The town is incredibly the town has got kind of a very interesting vibe, almost like a Danish aesthetic. If you think about the wonderful Danes over there on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean.
I can't help but notice you went straight into the water.
Yes, because I'm looking for the bears now. And I don't remember. I did not visit this town before the bears, but that does not mean that there is not a path that I can discover to the bears from this town.
Robby, I have a question.
Yes, Alan.
How do you know where the bears were, and why are you going back there?
Well, because Alan, the thing is that with a game of this magnitude, you do want to ensure that these are bears.
The bears, Robby.
Oh, Jesus! These are different bears, Alan. These are bears that are not to be reckoned with. They're magic bears. They look crazy, Alan. These aren't the kind of friendly bears that you see in the woods up in the forests near Los Angeles, California, where we are doing our remote EGI episodes. These are evil bears. These are bad guys, and we are were so exhausted. It's an exhausting thing to be just out here murdering animals. I don't care if they're bad animals or good animals, but we've killed them. So those are some new bears, and they were carrying gold. So
now
that could be an EGI exclusive report that these that animals that attack you carry gold.
Hey, Robby, what is it about you and the kind of person you are, maybe your zodiac sign or just your personality that makes you run towards danger like this and run?
Well, I find that danger approaches me very quickly in most cases. It's the danger. It's the danger. It's not you. But you told me you're going straight for those bears, and then we found the bears.
We found bears. Exactly. I don't know what the point of this is.
There's no reason to believe that the bears that were there were different bears. They could have been the same bears, and maybe I didn't kill them the first time. And we don't really understand you can't really, a game of this size, you can't really ever understand what you're doing, where you're going, where the bears are. Or the bears are dead or alive. So they could have been the same bears.
This is a very mysterious game. When you told me you were going to play this, there was a lot of mystery surrounding what this game was. And I got to say that there's been even more questions than there have been answers, especially in terms of just what's happening with these bears.
So we're going to take a quick break from the bears here. This is a lock-picking screen, famous lock-picking, of course, made famous in games like Dishonored and Dishonored 2 and Skyrim. And this is of course one of the best parts about these kinds of games, because you get to unlock things that you wouldn't have access to if you have the skills to do so. I have a lock-picking skill of 2. This is a difficulty difficulty rating. I don't think I'm playing on very easy. We're going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and force the lock with the Y button. This is the Y button, and we have forced the lock. So we've got the numbing scepter. The inventory's full. I can't pick up the numbing scepter. I can't pick up the static longbow, but I can pick up the gold coins.
Why?
So we're going to pick up those coins.
Okay, but what about that other stuff?
Well, I don't know, Alan. I mean, what's happening is that we really want to just.
Whoa, Robby!
What the hell is that?
What's going on?
So the Sprite Storm champion has shown up, Alan. This just in. The Sprite Storm champion is here, and we are going to do a quick healing spell and go ahead and battle this. Massively powerful creature, Alan. It's just terrible that one person can just be out here looking for the dead bears or still alive bears, just looking for some semblance of rationality and meaning, and be forced to contend with these incredibly difficult and evil objects that we call sprites.
Sprite, like the soda again. Okay. There's a lot going on. I don't like when you get into fight in the game.
No, it's not good. I mean, these games are. I think at their worst when you're actually doing something. So, Alan, while I'm just kind of like finishing off these sprites, why don't you tell me a little bit about how you came across the information that you came across for Slambolt Scrappers? There's
all sorts of websites that have information nowadays. But I keep looking at this photo of you and thinking how cool you look.
If you look at the photo and look at the sword that I have now. These are boggarts.
Hey, Robby, I got an idea.
I don't like that word. I don't like words. I don't like double G words. I never have, and I never will, and I won't change that about myself, no matter how many times I am told that a double G sound shouldn't matter. Big swords.
Yeah. Oh, right.
I had a big sword in the picture, and I have a big sword now. So we're back in fighting the sprites here. The boggart, and we are just. I mean, this is awful. This is just the amount of violence and chaos. I mean, you get home after a long day of work and you're just looking for some small bit of comfort, an escape of some kind. But what you find yourself is just surrounded by plague bearers and boggarts and sprites and it's I'm out here. I'm trying to enjoy the spaces. I'm trying to enjoy the textures and the rocks and the bridges. Nothing better than a bridge. Wouldn't you say so, Alan? All right, let's take some calls if we can. Let's take some video calls. We're here live on Electronic Game Information. We are looking for your video calls, and we're so excited to see what people are thinking about the plague bearers or the bears themselves. You call them plague bearers, but are they bears also? Because they certainly don't look like any type of bear I have ever seen.
I don't think we should do the calls this time.
Why?
Because it doesn't work
we are having some technical issues with special EGI correspondent Alan Resnick. So once he's back, we will hopefully be able to kind of pick his brain a little bit for the kinds of things that he has observed about Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, about the creatures that I'm forced to fight. It doesn't seem like it was only 5 or 10 minutes ago that I was not having any problems whatsoever. I was going along on my peaceful way, exploring the wilderness, exploring these towns and swimming and just trying to find the corpses of bears. And now I don't even know what's happening. I will say that the corpses are still there. So that's something.
Robby?
Yes, Alan.
So you don't have to do it with other people. You can just do it.
Oh, Zane's chatting in. Zane, welcome to the show. So happy to see a different face. And just wondering what you're thinking about Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. Are you having as good of a time as I am exploring the world of this classic game?
I gotta say, this game is a classic. I can't believe I get to watch on EGI, Quarant-Egi. I get to see this game, my favorite game. Who knew?
It's not, it's a great game, but unfortunately, it's too violent. I think it's too damn violent, and I've died. I've gone ahead and died. Because when it comes down to it, the people that make these types of games need to justify the amount of money that they spend on character artwork and battle mechanics and the fighting and the magics and all the ranged weapons and close encounter weapons and armor. So they need to create scenarios where you're forced to utilize those things, and I've gone into a scenario and I've died.
You died. It's what happens in games like these. It should say passed out. You know what I mean? It should be a little fainting. Died, that's a little bit too much. But other than that,
yeah, absolutely. Oh, why not phased out? You've phased out.
Yeah. I disappeared. You know what I mean? I fell asleep.
Zane, do you fear death?
Huh?
Do you fear death?
All the time. Especially now. You kidding me? I don't want to play games and be reminded about the inevitable. Who wants to play like that?
No, absolutely not. You want to walk around the woods. You want to find corpses of animals that you've killed, and you want to not worry about being just ended right there and then. Alan, what are your thoughts?
What are my thoughts on Zane?
Yes. What do you think about Zane? What do you think about what Zane is saying about death, about the trappings of reality, of the sort of tenuousness of life that we experience here on this earth, in this world, in the cities, in the states, in the countries, in the planet? The whole damn planet's on fire, isn't it?
Well, honestly, in my honest opinion, I think what you just said about life and death is a very interesting and nuanced point. And when Zane was speaking on the issue, it left a little bit to be desired because he was speaking about it on simplistic terms. So if I had to choose between Zane and Robby, I think I'm going to have to pick Robby 100% of the time. No offense to you, Zane, and thank you for watching EGI.
Did I even have a chance, Robby fan?
No. But thank you for your call, and we are looking for more people who are looking for ways to talk and speak about these wonderful games. We have Mel. Mel is here. How are you doing, Mel? What's the scoop? How's your life? Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning how is Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning for you?
I'd say it's maybe somewhere in between the third and fifth best game Todd McFarlane ever worked on.
What would you say the first and the second of that list on? And if you do say Spawn in the Demon's Hand, I'll have to commend you because I think that is number 4. A bold move would be to say it would be 1 or 2.
Was that the tear the pieces, tear the lot? Was that the Dreamcast one?
Yes, that was of course the Dreamcast multiplayer action game that was very similar to another multiplayer action game called Outrigger. I would say they were almost the same game, but one had the Outrigger characters and one had the Spawn characters.
Okay,
Alan,
well, that's number 1.
What do you think about Mel's comment here about the Todd McFarlane games?
I think what Mel said about the Todd McFarlane game was interesting, but the stuff that you were saying was unbelievably interesting because you just knew all this stuff about these different games. And what you said about the Spawn game, that was so cool. I love EGI. I am a big fan of the show.
Now, you've reminded me of another game that I do believe that Todd McFarlane had something to do with, and that was, of course, Kiss Psycho Circus for the Sega Dreamcast and PC, and I believe it might have just been those two. Kiss Psycho Circus, the first-person shooter, sort of late 90s, early 2000s game starring the members of the band Kiss.
Todd McFarlane worked on that?
He may have done some character artwork. I can't verify it. I don't have the ability to open other windows on the computer. Otherwise, the whole system comes crashing down. But it's very possible, I think, that he did some developmental artwork on it.
Could have. I mean, he had his fingers in a lot of pies.
Well, thank you for your call, Mel, and we are so excited to have your opinions voiced here that you do believe that Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning is less of a game than Spawn in the Demon's Hand or perhaps Psycho Service. Psycho Service.
You ever notice these characters? They always stay the same, even as we age.
The members of Kiss?
The characters in these games, they stay the same, even as we get older.
Yeah,
move close to death.
And it's almost like those wonderful statues that you see when you visit the wonderful cities of Italy, the Renaissance cities of Italy. When you see the statues of just the naked people of ancient Italy are still as striking and as impressive as they were back in the 1500s, 1600s. I think that things start getting a lot less interesting around the 1700s.
And then when they die, the characters in the game, they die, but they can just start over. We can't.
Absolutely not, and that's the trouble with all this. Although, actually, having not experienced death firsthand myself, I must say that I cannot verify here on Electronic Game Information that there isn't a second chance, that we don't get to come back, and maybe there is a chance that you would come back and you would. How would you want to change things, if I might ask? How would you want to, especially when it comes to games like Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning? Would you spend more time playing it, or would you spend more time thinking about it, or would you sort of move on to another big open world action RPG like, say, Summoner 2?
I always preferred games that have structure. You give me too much freedom, and I just become overwhelmed by it.
It is overwhelming. It's so much like the life that we live outside of the. Did you guys see that, Alan? What can we see, Alan? What are you thinking about of the conversation that we're having here about life and death and Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning and big games versus structured games? You know, the difference between a big open world action RPG and something like, say, Bayonetta or Vanquish.
Well, my main takeaway from this conversation is a very interesting concept that you brought up, and I think maybe even came up with, which is that if we were to die in this realm, maybe we could come back in some other form. And that is super interesting to me. And I would imagine that if I died and I got to meet God, and God said, "What would you like to come back as?" I would probably come back. First, I'd say Robby. But if they said, "You can't come back as Robby because that's taken," I would come back as maybe something in your house, like your chair or something, or something really small, like a bug that was so small that it would walk around the streets and diddle around. And I'd be so small, but I could look up. And everyone I saw, every woman on the street would be huge, like the size of a towering, like a giant mountain to me. And I think that would just be such an interesting experience to have.
Alan, everything that you said is so amazing.
EEGA has a very similar premise to what you just described.
EEGA.
I would also recommend
EEGA, not to be confused with EGA.
EGI.
EGI.
I already know about that.
I will the game Mr. Mosquito on the game for you. Mr. Mosquito, the wonderful flying game where you fly around as a action-packed mosquito, and maybe caller. That game could be for you, and maybe that would solve all the problems that trouble you.
Okay.
Thank you for your call, Alan. We're going to do one more call, and then we are going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, guess what we're going to do, Alan? The list.
What? Oh, the list. Oh.
Okay. So it's time to talk to EGI friend of the show, Raymond. Ramen.
You were close.
But
Ramen. Rayman is a game. Rayman is a video game, Robby.
But since I'm your friend, you can call me Angie.
Angie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Angie, so happy that you joined us here. Are you a fan of Rayman? Are we a fan of Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning? What's happening in your life?
Well, I've been stuck at home like everybody else, and I'm a big fan of Rayman and Ramen, obviously. But also, you guys are talking about RPGs, and I've been playing a lot of Fire Emblem. I got my 3DS back.
Absolutely. Fire Emblem games on 3DS is your favorite?
Oh, I own Conquest and Awakening, but Awakening is my favorite. I played This is the third time I played Awakening.
And what is it? People, I always ask this question when Fire Emblem comes up, but people are always wondering, what is it so different between Awakening and
Look at there.
What's the difference?
Well, if I remember correctly, Awakening is the first Fire Emblem game to come out for Northern America. So obviously that was very important for Nintendo. Nintendo clearly loves Fire Emblem as a franchise. So they put a lot of effort into it, and it was fantastic. I still love it. And then Conquest and Birthright came out at the same time. And it was kind of like a tree. You could buy 3 games at once kind of thing. It's sort reminds me of the situation that we find ourselves in now. I guess, but the thing was when Birthright and Conquest came out, I'm pretty sure that was the names. I bought Conquest because it claimed to be you can choose your adopted family instead of your Birthright family. And then I realized, and when you start playing the game, then I realized I was actually kidnapped, and I was pissed.
Jesus Christ. Alan, what are your thoughts on what Angie is saying here?
I can't tell if what you're talking about is a game or a real story about the Israel birthright trip.
Angie, please, if you could clear that up for us, because that popped into my head as well. Not to say that if you have a free trip to Israel, take it.
One second. I'm on Adult Swim. Give me like 5 minutes, then I'll shut up. Okay. Anyway, I'm actually, I know about the Jewish birthright trip. I'm actually Jewish by blood, and I don't know much about it.
Because it's just a free trip. It's just a free trip.
It's a free trip. I've considered it.
But they try to make you join their military if you go.
Yeah, and Mossad calls you. They ask you all sorts of crazy questions.
But it is totally free.
I know it's free, and I know I qualify to go. But I don't know about that other stuff you're saying. I'll have to ask the people I know about that next time I see them.
I wonder if the people that made Slam Bolt Scrappers were ever approached by the Mossad to create a sort of simulation for them.
They make all sorts of simulations for government, so yes, it's possible.
Huh.
It's completely possible.
What, Angie? What are your thoughts on the Slam Bolt Scrappers situation that we're in right now? Not the one that we started with at the top of the show, but the one that I just started by talking about it.
I'm not sure. Is there a particular stance you're standing on, or I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Robby.
That's a good point. Angie, thank you for your call, and stay safe out there. If the Mossad call you, they're just kind of trying to have a checklist, and they need to just make sure everything's copacetic.
Okay, good to know.
Good to know. And we are going to take a short break. And Alan, this is a wonderful short break because this is we've had some trouble trying to figure out how to show fan art on the show. Of course, I like when you show
fan art, Robby.
Fan art that comes in through the electronic game information at gmail.com, through our Twitter account, and through our Instagram account. And it's so wonderful to show it on, but I do not have a color printer at home. So when I want to make sure that when we do see the fan art, that it is seen in full color, and we can appreciate it in the way that it was supposed to be appreciated. So the way that I thought about how to show was to take all the still images that were emailed to us. Admittedly, there haven't been a lot, but that doesn't mean that won't change. And turn it into a kind of like an animated montage with moving pictures, sort of like. And we're back. Alan, what do you think of all the fan art?
That was so nice. I loved all the arts.
Oh, great. And that was It's the Arts. We're going to be doing It's the Arts every week, but we will be doing it in video format as opposed to the format that we usually do from our home base in Burbank, California. So now we are going straight into the list. And this is the first time that we're doing the list in the original format for the show, for the quarantine show. We're so excited to bring you original format the list. And we're going to start off right now with PlayStation 2 games that came out in the launch window of the system that are role-playing games that I did not play, that I do not have a fundamental understanding of. Let's dive right in with Eternal Ring. Eternal Ring, of course, is a game by Age Tech and published by Age Tech, developed by, I assume, another group of people. I've never really looked at the back of the box, but I can tell you the front of the box is a guy sort of in a cowl and a cape, and he's got what do you call it when you have like a tunnel around your neck? A sash? Turtleneck? Sort of a tunnel around the neck.
A scarf?
And he's looking at his hand, and he's got, and in the hand it's a sort of a green glow, and that's the Eternal, and we assume that the green glow has something to do with the Eternal Ring. And so when one boots up the game, it is assumed that the man on the cover of the game will be in the game, that you'll start off looking at him or speaking to him, or maybe it's one of those mysterious openings that where the players and the people that you're playing as and the people that you're fighting against are the same person. Now, what do you think of that?
What game did you add to the list?
It's called Eternal Ring, and it's a man, and he's got a ponytail.
It's the list, and
it's the list. And Eternal Ring is on the list. Eternal Ring was published in the United States by Age Tech, but published in the European Union. And this is a fun fact here on EGI. European Union is, of course, a wonderful set of countries that have decided to sort of band together, form a unified currency. In better times, there are no border checks between the countries, so you have free range of travel. So you can, Alan, if you got off the boat if you got off the train in Paris, you could walk from Paris to the Baltic Sea.
But not now.
No, because now there's border checkpoint. Wonderful. Next up on the list is Evergrace. Evergrace is, of course, a game that I've only seen the cover of, and I think that is probably not the best way to judge a game, to understand a game, to try and understand a game, but it is. I can describe to you the cover of Evergrace, which is a man sitting on like a stone, on a big stone or a rock. What do you call a big stone?
A pebble.
Boulder, Colorado. And we have, of course, a man looking off. I think he's looking off into the distance. He's holding a sword, or maybe he's holding a spear, or maybe he's holding the Eternal Ring.
Robbie, how many
what are your
games are on this list?
4. So, okay. We're halfway through the list. We are going to talk about Evergrace just for one more second, because I'm just remembering. I do believe it is an RPG. I don't actually. The funny thing about is I started the list off saying that the games were RPGs, but I can only judge that by the names and the recollection I have of the covers. I can say that if the man is sitting on the boulder. If he's sitting on the boulder with the sword or the spear, if he's thinking about if I'm thinking about him, I can assume that he's not in a first-person shooter. What are your thoughts?
I can't tell the difference between what you're saying and what the list is saying, and it's very different stuff. And I also don't really fully understand what this list is.
These are PlayStation 2 launch window games, Alan.
But you keep talking about a big bubble.
No. The boulder was the man that would, a fairly masculine seeming person sitting atop a boulder in the Evergrace. Maybe he is the Evergrace. Maybe that's his name.
Okay.
We're talking about names, and we're thinking about names here on the list on EGI Electronic Game Information. This just in, the name of the next game is Forever Kingdom.
And you didn't play it?
I did not play Forever Kingdom. It was in the launch window. There was a sort of a period there in my life where I had stopped playing the video games, sort of in between the sort of like the petering out of the Dreamcast and the sort of third or fourth year of the PlayStation 2. And here's some EGI trivia. Because I got back into it because I played the Zone of the Enders, which is not on the list.
But why did you fall out of love with games?
There wasn't really a falling out. It was more of just a, it was a function of the time. I was working a lot. I was in school. I took 18 credits one semester, and that was a lot to take on. I was trying to get from one school to a better school, and it did work. But I think the sacrifice was that I missed out some on the late Dreamcast games, and I've tried to spend a lot of time sort of, piecing back that period of history back together.
I would love to hear a whole like if they sold audio cassette tapes where it was just you talking about your life and not talking about games for a bit. That I would love to listen to that.
Well, unfortunately, we're going to have to talk about Kingsfield: The Ancient Ring. These wonderful Kingsfield games. Kingsfield, of course, is I do know this to be true, that it is a role-playing game, and this is a thing that I don't know to be true, but I'm just going to say it out loud because this is the list, and this is the reason why we do the list and why we put games on the list. I do believe that it is a first-person dungeon crawler, and that was a fairly unique thing for a console back in that time period. Before that, you only had really games like Eye of the Beholder on the Super Nintendo and Sega CD. Later on, you had, of course, Shadowgate on Nintendo 64, Shadowgate 64, big friend of the show, Shadowgate 64. And this was sort of the Kingsfield games were I think a little bit more obtuse.
Yeah, they were obtuse.
And that was the list. So thank you so much, the list. We'll be back next week with the list. I think that worked pretty well, Alan. I mean, we've had some technical issues this episode, but I think that went pretty well. What did you think of the show?
I thought it was one of the best episodes of Electronic Game Information to date, even including the good seasons. So it was a whirlwind, and I'm glad that the list really worked out too.
The list worked so great. You froze up a little bit. You kind of ruined your Slam Bolt Scrappers storyline there, but we'll try to figure out what went wrong and make up for it in the future. And we're having so much fun not only doing the show, but also figuring out how to do shows in this new format. And so, Alan, I have a special surprise I would like to share with you and with the rest of the Electronic Game Information community.
Yeah, what did you get me?
I didn't get you anything, Alan. I'm actually going to. The surprise is that we are going to start doing the show 2 nights a week, starting on Monday. We're going to start doing it. I'm not lying. It's going to happen. So rather than getting a gift, I'm giving you the opportunity to better yourself through work.
Robby, are you lying? Because
I'm not lying. When we started the show off, we were doing one day every day for 4 or 5. I mean, so much, as my grandmother used to say, so much water has flown over the dam. And so, we're coming back and doing the show multiple times a week, I think, is a really special thing. And I think is a special opportunity as we sort of stumble through the next few weeks and as we get better or get worse. We might be getting worse.
Yeah. Maybe. Robby, I hope that you should talk more about your grandma on the new episode, on the new shows we do.
We don't talk about grandmother Holmes on the show. She was a special person, and it's sort of you put things in silos, Alan. That's how life should work. And the caller earlier, Holmes, I think, was sort of maybe hinting at it. I don't think he said it outright or even subtly, but I do think that you want to just silo things off, so you have different parts of your life that are in sort of walled off cylinders outside.
I wish I could wall off a part of my life that you were in, and I could be in the wall too. Robby, on the
great
Monday show, I want to do it for.
So happy that you joined us here on Electronic Game Information. We'll be back on Monday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Pacific Time. And then again, later in the week on the Thursday, we will be back at our normal Thursday slot. And we will be doing the show twice a week starting next week.
On Mondays
and Thursdays, Electronic Game Information will be on here on adultswim.com live. We'll be doing the list. We'll be doing the videos. We'll be playing soothing game footage from mid to late 90s to early 2000s first-person shooters and showing art in sort of animated when you move the, you know what I'm talking about. And, of course, send us your art through electronicgameinformation@gmail.com. And Twitter and Instagram. We're on all the platforms. And we'll see you guys on Monday night.
Bye.
Bye.